Welcome to this lesson on Google Cloud Platform. And I'm going to talk about three things within this lesson: the Google App Engine, Compute Engine, and then the Container Engine. Container Engine being the far more important one because we'll be using Docker images and we'll be placing them within the Container Engine. But in this short lesson, I want to talk about these three areas so that your concepts are clear as we move forward. So first, the Google App Engine. It simply allows us to build apps that can be scaled automatically. So for instance, if you have an application running on the Google Cloud Platform and all of a sudden there's a big jump in network traffic, right? Let's say you just deployed an Angry Bird 5 version of the app and all of a sudden there are millions of hits on your site. So what Google would do is automatically scale for you so it doesn't take down your network. So the App Engine simply scales automatically. It is a platform for building scalable web applications and mobile backends. App Engine also provides you with built-in services and APIs such as the NoSQL data stores and a user authentication API common to most applications. App Engine will scale, again, the application automatically in response to the amount of traffic. And there are no servers for you to provision or maintain, right? It does it all automatically behind the scenes. The second aspect is the Google Compute Engine. It is a high-performance, scalable VMs, right? So these virtual machines are very powerful and again, scalable, just like the App Engine. So the Google Compute Engine delivers virtual machines running on Google's innovative data centers and worldwide fiber network. Compute Engine's tooling and workflow support enables scaling from single instances to global load balanced cloud computing. So if you are an enterprise or you're working in a large enterprise or an environment where developers are spread across the world and you're using the Google Cloud Platform to scale your application, that's the best way to go forward. And finally, the Google Container Engine. Very important. It provides automated container management. And we know what containers are, right? We've taken a look at these in previous lessons and I've talked a lot about containers, what they are, what they can do, how do they work. So Google Container Engine is a powerful cluster manager and orchestration system for running your Docker containers, right? So you have these thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of containers up on the Docker Hub or online registry, and you want to bring them into Google Cloud Platform. The Container Engine will allow you to do so, right? So we can create a VM, an instance, a cluster, and then provision for containers. And we can also automatically, based on the requirements, define CPU and memory usages. The Container Engine is built on the open source Kubernetes system, giving you the flexibility to take advantage of on-premise, hybrid, or public cloud infrastructure. And we know what Kubernetes is, right? I've talked about this in previous lesson. So the Container Engine itself is built on the Kubernetes system. Again, Kubernetes, recall, is just a management tool which manages your containers, okay? Which scales them, which balances them. You can run the Nginx from the repository that balances all these containers, because again, containers themselves are just residing in the Linux kernel. So they cannot really do themselves or do anything by themselves. So we need Kubernetes, which is an open source platform to scale your applications automatically. So very important, Google Container Engine. Make sure you understand this concept before we actually start applying and doing all these projects. So next, let me in fact show you by going online where these three things reside: the App Engine, as well as the Compute Engine and your containers. So here I'm on my Google Cloud Platform logged in. Make sure I have my projects here, and let me go to the products and services. As soon as I click on this, notice here is the compute section, okay? And let me pin this. Perfect. So here's the App Engine, then we have the Compute Engine, then the Container Engine, okay? I talked about these three. Of course, we have our networking where you can configure your scalable networking areas as well. but primarily I'm going to focus on these three in this particular lesson. So first, let me show you App Engine. Just click on App Engine, and it will open up the dashboard for your instances, if any, and your versions and your summary as well. Okay, so gives you the billing, current load, application, and so on. Okay, all right, let's go to the next one, which is the compute engine, and this is where you can actually create your virtual machines. So it allows you to create VMs that run on Google's infrastructure. Okay, and of course we'll be creating these in subsequent lessons. And finally, or before I go to the container engine, notice within the compute engine there are several things I can do. I can create instance templates, disks, snapshots, images, do some health checks, configure zones, quotas, and so on, right? Just like a VM you would normally work with. Perfect. Let's go back to our container engine, which is the third on the list here. So let's click on container engine, and this is where you can create container clusters, right? So container packages an application so it can easily be deployed to run in its own isolated environment. Containers are managed in clusters that automate the VM creation and maintenance. And of course, there are two options. One is the container registry, which provides simply a secure private Docker repository storage on cloud platform. This is pretty powerful. So see how things are coming together, right? Of all these lessons that we've been covering so far. So now that you understand how Docker works, how we create those containers, images, and how Google Platform allows the container registry to place or store private Docker repositories. We can of course use the gcloud command to push repositories to your registry and then pull them using the HTTP endpoint from any machine, whether it's a Google Compute Engine instance or your own hardware. So we'll work with these as well. So I just wanted to show you the container engine where we can create clusters, configure repositories, Docker repositories, and then manage them. Okay, and of course when we get to Kubernetes, we'll take a look at how Kubernetes really takes on these clusters and manages the entire infrastructure or your app. So hope this helps. Practice, take a look at some of these definitions and concepts. Go online, log into your Google Cloud account, just play around with these. And with this, let's move to the next lesson.